Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone, and welcome to your number one source for Native American television news. It's Native News Today. Gerald Wofford along with Jason Salzman here, and we hope you're ready for an action-packed 30 minutes of Native American stories out there in Green Country, and we certainly hope you are, because that's what you're going to get. Gerald, it's going to be a great day.
That's right. Here, action-packed, as Jason alluded to, on this Memorial Day weekend. We hope that your holiday weekend is off to a great start, and as always, we appreciate you joining us here on another spectacular show here of Native News Today.
Lots of things going on, Gerald. We have some news items, some human interest things, so a little bit of a smorgasbord of Native American news that we will be offering up today. So I hope everybody out there is cushioned in and ready to go, and we'll go up to Tulsa, we'll go to Sapulpa, a few other places, but we'll be all over the place. So don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back after this first break. You're watching Native News Today.
Since the dawn of the Muskogee Creek Nation, the traditional rhythmic sound of the turtle shells has been the heart of the ceremonial stomp dance. A living legacy passed to each new generation. This tradition, this legacy, this heart, this is the Muskogee Creek Nation of Oklahoma.
And welcome back to Native News Today here on our spectacular news set. Jason Salzman, Gerald Wofford, and Jason, all the Native American tribes that we cover, so many out there. A priority of many of them is to preserve their native language, and certainly the Yuchee tribe is no different.
Yes, Gerald, and that's why I made the trip up north this week to Sapulpa to visit with Yuchee, and that's the Yuchee people, the Yuchee elders at the Yuchee House there in Sapulpa. You know, Dr. Richard Grounds, a friend of you and yours and mine, and this program really has such a passion for preserving the Yuchee language. He's the vice president of the Yuchee Language Project, and invited me up to come and see how their elders are meeting on a regular basis. You know, there's 4 remaining fluent speakers of the Yuchee language. So there really are living history, these elders, and basically, as Richard says, living encyclopedias. So I felt it was an honor of mine to get to go up and visit with them. Just off Main Street in Sapulpa sits an old yellow house, the Yuchee House. It serves as the meeting place for the last living fluent speakers of the beautiful Yuchee language. It is a weekly gathering of the Yuchee Language Project, and it's where history comes to life.
Agalasan, Antadit Nechi Sanle, Gohantane Agasanle, Wayo Abe de Pole Ake. I'm greeting you in the Yuchee language. Good morning, or morning good. And I'm saying it's good to see you all, and the Creator has given us a wonderful day. I cannot tell you what a privilege it is. It makes me really feel good. I'm very happy to have our elders, that we literally get to sit down and work with our elders on a daily basis. A wonderful spirit that they bring, a lot of playfulness. There's a lot of joy in using the language. They come every day to help us keep our language going and to pass their knowledge, their understanding of the culture, the traditions, the history. They are, in a sense, like our walking encyclopedias. They embody our culture, our language, and they're passing their knowledge on to the young people in the community. And it's such a rich opportunity and privilege to be able to help facilitate that. They're the key, the elders are the key to keeping our language alive, passing our traditions forward. They're the basis for everything that we do and our efforts to keep our language as a spoken language, a living language, not just recorded on a shelf somewhere in a museum, not just printed in a book that's on a shelf in a library. We want our children to be able to speak our language, and we're seeing some success. Our kids today actually are starting to get in trouble once again for talking Yuchee in school. We don't like them getting in trouble for speaking their language, but it's the fact that they know enough of their language that it's just bubbling out, and they're using it in all the settings, and so we're making real progress, and we're happy to see it. We're now down to 4 remaining fluent first language elders. They're all over 80, well over 80 years old. They bring their gifts of being able to speak the language and hear the language, and they come, and we have to set that up. There are no longer any 2 fluent Yuchee speakers that live together. There's not any 2 folk in the same household. So we have to bring them together. And of course they cooperate and want to help, and for them it's an opportunity to use their language. And I think there's such joy in it. When we first started trying to have the elders come together, and we tried to bring food and give them an opportunity to speak to one another, and there was just so much laughter, and it was quite striking. When they were speaking in English, the conversation was pleasant and enjoyable. But when they started speaking in their own language, just sharing that, there was a great deal of laughter. And they always say, you know, there's some things that don't translate real well into English. So a lot of the humor and jokes and richness, you know, it's really funnier in your language than trying to translate it somehow into English. And a lot of it, I think, is the joy that they share in being able to come together. And they really, I think, are starting to feel good about seeing the progress of the young learners, including the children, the young adults, starting to pick it up and really speak it well. So that really, I think, brings joy to them to be able to see that and hear people talking back to them in the language, something they haven't been able to do, you know, since they were really young themselves and coming up.
Well, of the many stories that we cover each year, the 10th annual Doing Business in Indian Country is certainly something that we mark on our calendar. And as always, it was a great event to attend. Yeah, Gerald, it's the Continuing Legal Education Symposium for the Muskogee Creek Nation District Court. They put it on. Really, a lot of legwork goes on with the Muskogee Creek Nation District Court staff, Chris Asbill, Toby and them. They do a great job over there. So big kudos to them. And we got to visit with the judge, the new judge, and this is the first time on Native News Today for the new district court judge, Mr. Gregory Bigler, and he's also Yuchee too, as we just finished with the Yuchee story. But he is in his new post there as district court judge of the Muskogee Creek Nation, and that is one of our responsibilities as the district court here, is to put on the continuing legal education seminar every year. So more lawyers out there getting adept to Indian law, all things Indian law. So we were once again very glad to be at the CLE.
This is the 10th year that we've had this continuing legal education doing business in Indian country. We got a little bit of a late start as we had a change in administration, and obviously I just came on the bench here at the beginning of January. But we felt it was an important event to try and continue that tradition. So we tried to get people, at least in this year in particular, since I was trying to help coordinate with our staff there at the District Court of the Muskogee Creek Nation, people that I knew who worked in the field around Oklahoma, a variety of people who are either scholars from the law schools or people who work with the various Indian tribes or in the field, so that they have a variety of perspectives, but all ones who had a hands-on knowledge about practice within the Oklahoma Indian country. Tribal courts have kind of had their origins here in Oklahoma, at least over the past 30 years. There were numerous tribal courts prior to 1900, but because of most of the Indians are aware of through the allotment process and so forth, those were all driven out of existence for a period of some 85 years. And the resurgence occurred in the mid-'80s to late '80s, and here at Creek Nation we have a very active tribal court, perhaps the most active as far as caseload goes in Oklahoma. And the other tribal courts that I've worked with and aware of throughout Oklahoma are very active also. They have very good representation of the attorneys who are working as the judges are law trained. They have active federal and local practices. So I think that oftentimes the level of practice in the tribal courts is perhaps at least as good as state courts and sometimes better. So I think that that's something that perhaps is not aware by the general public, how active they are, the level of expertise and practice that is found there. And that's what we're trying to do, is get that a little bit of knowledge out there and also, of course, give information to those people who are here. Sometimes we have a lot of very difficult cases that are brought to us. We have dealing with children, dealing with parents, dealing with the citizens of the nation, and we have to always keep that in mind. So it has to be a combination of doing what we have to do and yet remembering who has put us on the bench and why, as far as serving the nation and the citizens. But it's been pretty exciting. I think that the staff there is very good. They've been very helpful. They're the ones that really did the groundwork, the legwork to get this going for the symposium today, for the CLE today and tomorrow. And without them, it wouldn't have been possible, and we have a lot of support. I think there seems, at least at this point, there's a lot of goodwill amongst the different branches of the nation, and that makes it easier to get all of our work done.
Typically, when a lawyer is going through their training in law school, they might get a little smattering of Indian law, but any general practitioner that's going to practice in the state of Oklahoma, whether you have an interest in Indian law or not, it is bound to become an issue in your practice at some point. So it's really a benefit to the entire legal community of Oklahoma and the surrounding states for the Creek Nation judicial branch to offer a continuing legal education program like this, because it helps practitioners get better grounded in older and new legislation such as the Violence Against Women Act and the Indian Child Welfare Act and the Tribal Law and Order Act and such. Helps practitioners be better prepared to practice and face what they're going to face out there in Indian country. Over the last decade to 15 years, the tribes nationwide, and especially here in Oklahoma, have done nothing but drastically and remarkably grow in their presence and financial influence and stability. With that comes threats. There's any number of avenues for threats, not only to the financial security of tribes, but the actual tribal sovereignty that they enjoy in the first place. There's any number of avenues that can pose threats like that. So that's another benefit that a CLE program like this offers, because it helps practitioners that are either interested in focusing on those specific areas or that just have to do it by virtue of who they're representing to be able to do it much more efficiently.
And a lot of news going on around Muskogee Creek Nation here lately. Certainly a big piece of news this past week. And Gerald Wofford, you were out at the Riverwalk Crossing for a big press conference announcing not just the sale of a big piece of property to the Muskogee Creek Nation, but really the official assumption of that piece of land there.
That's right, Jason. We knew a couple weeks back that the river crossing there in Jinx was purchased by the Muskogee Creek Nation, the shopping area there and housing some of the restaurants and everything. Real popular place there in South Tulsa, but it became official by the judge and the legal terms, if you will, of that being contracted to the property of the Muskogee Creek Nation. You know, one special part of this too, Jason, is that the check that you'll see presented in this news story is actually the tribe paying off the debt to the city of Jinx, paying off that debt to make the business transaction really good, and a good partnership here for the Muskogee Creek Nation.
Good evening. Thank you very much for coming. I want to introduce the Honorable Second Chief of the Great Muskogee Creek Nation, Roger Barnett. CEO of the Muskogee Nation Business Enterprise, which this facility will be under just for a short term. His name is Woody Anderson. Woody. Mayor of Breland, we have another mayor here in this area. It's the mayor of Riverwalk, Mr. J.D. Colbert. Unofficially, well, as of 3:22 this afternoon, the Muskogee Creek Nation are the official owners of the Riverwalk, and we are very pleased to be able to say that. Earlier, JD and I were talking about the journey that we took about 38 days ago, not realizing that we'd be standing where we're at. But we're very pleased, and at this time, because we've been not necessarily been given money away, but have had to, we want to do the same with the city of Jinx. And Mayor, if you'll join me, I'd like to have the second chief help us with this. Chief. Mayor, on behalf of Muskogee Creek Nation, I want to thank you for your support, and this is our payment to you. Not personally, but
Lonnie.
The city of Jinx fronted about $1.3 million of city monies to help develop this property with infrastructure improvements that they then, the borrower was the original owner of Riverwalk. Now that it's gone through foreclosure, Muskogee Creek Nation is not legally obligated to repay the monies, but of course we want to be a very good neighbor with the city of Jinx, and so we've elected on this first day of our ownership to demonstrate that goodwill by issuing this check to the city and to pay off that loan. So that's what these funds represent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you know, we're very pleased, more than pleased, to be able to stand before you this afternoon overlooking part of history. The Arkansas River being a very important part of our history as Muskogee Creek people. It was on this river that later we settled the city of Tulsa. And it was later that we ended up having the very first gaming facility in the state of Oklahoma. And now we can say we're the very first nation within the state of Oklahoma to have such a wonderful venue that is on a river that means so much to the Muskogee Creek people. I want to take time for anyone that may have questions. We know that one of the things that people have been talking about has been the management of this facility. We will be making an announcement very shortly in the very, very near future about that. We have, excuse me, we have a couple of processes we have to go through to be able to make that announcement, and we'll be getting back in touch with our friends from the media about the announcement. I will tell you, it's been a wonderful experience, encouraging experience for the number of requests and the number of responses we had, people that have an interest in wanting to be managers of this facility. And we feel that going through the process, we feel confident in the people that we're looking at. And again, we'll be making a statement later on. I want to thank J.D. Colbert, who's been the mainstay since the day that we made the bid. The bid was successful. He's been working very hard. As I've stated before, he wears many hats, and we appreciate all the efforts of Mr. Colbert. With that, if there's any questions, I'll try to. Oh yeah. By the way, here's the deed. It's ours. And the sheriff signed off on it. It's ironic that I hold this deed in my hand, knowing that this piece of property at one time was a allotted piece of property for one of our tribal members. So it's with great honor and it's a something that I feel very emotional about as far as this property is concerned, because it's taken a full turn, if you will, a full circle, and now it belongs to the hand of the Muskogee Creek people.
Jason, it seems that this week we've really been touching on Native business issues this week for the show, and you had another chance to cover another story here dealing with that very subject.
Gerald, not only a business story, but an absolute Native American success story. You know, if I told you that one of the most successful companies, not only in here in Oklahoma and in Tulsa area, but all over the country, Tiger Natural Gas, started from just one Creek citizen, one Creek woman in her bedroom, just had the idea, and it blossomed from that to now what it is, over 40 employees, an incredible balance sheet every year, lots of contracts out of state, actually do most of their business in California. So Lori Nally and her sisters there at Tiger Natural Gas, just an absolute success story, one that we couldn't ignore here on the show because we want to show all the great things our Creek citizens are doing out there. So I had a great visit at Tiger Natural Gas in Tulsa.
We've been in business since 1991, and in the energy business, that's a long time. We have, basically, I started Tiger out of an extra bedroom in my house. And before I started Tiger, I had this vision that people were playing a lot on minority purchases. Me being a woman and then also being Muskogee Creek, I went and really started doing a business package to form Tiger. And I went to my current employer at that time, and he basically trusted me. It was almost like it was just meant to be. And so I formed Tiger Natural Gas, and came up with the name Tiger from my grandfather. His name was Jeff Tiger. And so it was just kind of in legacy. That's where I get my heritage from. So we thought that was just perfect. What Tiger does is, instead of buying your natural gas from your local utility, you can, in a lot of states, have choices who you buy from. And that's basically what Tiger does, is we supply a lot of federal facilities, hospitals, Creek Nation, casino, any place that uses natural gas, restaurants. And so the very first bid we ever bid on, we actually received, and which I think that it was just a complete blessing that happened. And really, over the years, we did play the minority role a lot, and we went through the SBA 8A program, it was very helpful. I think that the whole purpose of an 8A program is to get you up on your feet where you can survive on your own. And basically, really, that's what Tiger did. When we graduated from the 8A program, they kind of work you where you start doing a gradual. Where you get commercial business. And basically that's really what kind of thrust Tiger into the commercial world. And today we have probably around, I'd say, 30,000 customers nationwide. We actually operate in about 20 different states behind about 30 different utilities. So our #1 business is in California. That's where the majority of all of our customers are. We have a lot of customers here in Oklahoma and Colorado. We have an office in Colorado and actually an office in Pittsburgh. Today we're 40 employees strong. So, and I think that what sets Tiger, what makes us different than the other companies, because there's lots of other companies similar to Tiger, but what makes us different is that I started Tiger and I wanted people to be treated, I wanted to treat customers the way I wanted to be treated and not have to worry about someone, robbing me or taking advantage of me. And that's really what our customer service is exceptional. That's what makes Tiger stand apart from our competitors, is our customer service. We treat them the way we would want to be treated. Over the last year or so, we've gotten into the electricity, selling the electricity in California. Natural gas and electricity, they're all regulated, and so I think that as the years come by and the different states deregulate the power and also the natural gas, because here in Oklahoma, natural gas is not completely deregulated. I can't sell to residences. They have to sell to commercial customers who burn a certain amount of gas. And I think that as those limits come down, that the state of Oklahoma will be a great opportunity for growth for Tiger in our customers. And then also once, you know, the electricity becomes unregulated, I think it'll be a tremendous amount of growth. So we are just trying to grab every customer we can and just to continue our growth, but also at a scalable, don't want to grow too fast. And I think that that's another part of our success, is just kind of doing that in tranches where we can handle it. We also want to give back. You know, I think that we've usually adopt a school. At Christmas time, we've gone through in the Muro Indian home, that we've gone through and adopted that over Christmas in a lot of areas. My sister Debbie, she was just recently awarded Volunteer of the Year. So we have a lot of, go and there's a lot of people here at Tiger that go and mentor every week to, students who need it, less fortunate. So I think that the more we give, the more, unfortunately, that we'll just get back. My advice to all of the people, follow your heart. Believe that you can do the impossible, because 40 years ago as a child, I never thought that I'd be sitting here. And I just think that hard work always pays off. And programs helping Native American owned companies like the SBA is a perfect example of what Tiger is. I have great employees. Most of all of our employees have been here for almost from the beginning. And we've kind of gone through, a little bit of growth in probably the last, 3 or 4 years. But we're just really completely blessed. I'll just tell you that we've been able to make it this long.
And again, that brings us to another great conclusion to Native News Today, episode 308, if you're keeping a score at home. And as always, we appreciate you joining us. And maybe we can say that the show is, 310.
309.
309.
You'll get it here in a minute.
We will get it here in a minute, okay? Maybe if you've DVR'd it and you haven't watched 308 yet, maybe then it is your episode 308. But, especially this program is sponsored by Rubik's Cube.
Yes, exactly.
On the side here.
We, I do want to say, I'm glad you brought up sponsorships because it offers me a chance to send out a big mado to Tiger Natural Gas. You just saw the story on them, but they have actually sponsored me with an incredible donation to the Tulsa City Day Center. I'll be playing next week, actually next Thursday night, so I want to see all you guys out there at One Oak Field in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the home of the Drillers. I'll be playing in the Celebrity Softball Challenge, representing this show and the Creek Nation on the TV team. We'll be playing the radio team, so it'll be me and Frank Mitchell and some of the guys from News 8 and all that stuff, playing against Roy Mercer and those radio cats. So everybody come out and support us. Tiger Natural Gas, can't thank you enough for the big contribution.
Well, nothing against Mercer and those guys, but I think y'all have the edge on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Take us out of here.
You take care. God bless.
And we'll see you soon. Come out to One Oak. I'm gonna hit one out of that now.
That's a guarantee?
No. I mean, we'll probably use it. Water down that. Yeah.